Hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the timeline of life. My name's Rebecca, and welcome to the video. And this is Chai, because he wants to be a part of it too. I love book clubs. I love joining book clubs, but I always have the issue of choosing a book for book club, or if I'm a part of a book club, we always have a hard time choosing what book to read. So I made a video of different books that I've read before, and I think that would be great books for book clubs, depending on kind of like the vibe, what you're kind of looking for book clubs. One warning, I don't know, before we start is that I've only done book clubs with other women, usually other women in like early 20s to like early 40s. So that's kind of the demographic that I'm going for. So if you're like a 70-year-old man in your little book club at your retirement home, feel free to watch the video. It might not be the exact book for you, or you might, find a book that you normally wouldn't read and love it anyway. My first book recommendation is if you're looking for a book that's nonfiction, maybe a book about nature, maybe a book written by a Native American author. And this book is, and I've talked about it in probably like 3 or 4 videos, but I love it that much. It's Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, and she is of Native American descent, and she's also a botanist, which is basically like the science of plants, and she really beautifully interweaves Native American tradition and stories of nature with kind of the science as well. And it's really a great book if you're not much of a nonfiction book reader, because the way that it reads really reads like a fiction book. But if you are more of a nonfiction person and like to gain information, there's a lot of information there. I think my favorite story is why corn, squash, and beans grow so well together. And she talks about the science of it, but also this old Native American story of the 3 sisters. So that is definitely a high recommendation if you need a nonfiction book. My next recommendation is if you kind of want a kind of romancy book, but not maybe everyone likes romance. That's light and funny. Maybe your group is millennials who watched a lot of 30 Rock and SNL. This is the perfect book for you, and this is called Romantic Comedy. I recently finished this book. I thought it was really lovely, light. It kind of talks about COVID quite a bit. COVID is a bit of a storyline, so if that's maybe triggering for you, just know that COVID is a big part of it. But anyway, this main character, she is a writer for the book's version of SNL, and there's a romance between her and the this famous singer, kind of think of Harry Styles or Justin Timberlake. And there's kind of a will they, won't they throughout the whole book. And I find it really, really cute. The reviews are kind of love it or hate it, so I think it is actually a good book for book club. I like a discussion of why someone liked a book that I didn't like, or they didn't like a book that I liked, because I like learning about different perspectives and just being it was great. I love, everyone loved the book, and then there's not a lot to talk about from there. And it was a very, very easy read. It was a little cheesy towards the end, but it's super easy read. So I think everyone will hopefully finish this book if you choose it. The next recommendation is for those of you who loved ACOTAR or would want to read ACOTAR, but it's a little bit too long for you. I find that this book, if you liked ACOTAR, is a great book for you. It's about 2 sisters who are elves, who are part of the elven army. Something happens and they get banished from their lands and come across this fairy land that has not been known for many, many, many years. It's a romance with both of the sisters, so you can kind of pick and choose, what you like a little bit more. One of the sisters is likes guys, and one of the sisters likes girls. It's a romantasy that is more inclusive, maybe for your book club. Yeah, but I really liked it. There is an enemies to lovers. There is only have one bed kind of trope. So there's a lot of different tropes. I think people will like this. And I believe that they're gonna come out with more books, and this is gonna be like a trilogy or something like that. But I thought it was really beautifully written. It was less than 400 pages, and it just looks so cute. Can you imagine just like being at book club and being like, whatever. And my bookmark came out of there. But yes, it is Faebound. This next book recommendation is for those of you who want to read something that covers the intersection of gender and race and academia in an interesting way within fiction. This is Disorientation, about a Taiwanese American 29-year-old woman who's trying to finish her dissertation, and her dissertation is about this Chinese, I think Chinese American poet. So she is really like in it. She's researching. She just feels a little bit weird about this poet that she's been doing so much research for so long, and she finds out a really dark secret about this poet, and that secret kind of unravels everything with her work, her department, and she doesn't really know what to do from there. I won't give too much away, but I do think it does cover how academia is kind of messed up in a lot of different ways. So if your book club has a lot of people who have been in academia or who are in academia, I think they would also like it as well. But yeah, Disorientation, great book. This next book I actually read during one of my book clubs when we wanted to have a book that everyone would finish, and it's because it's a graphic novel. This book is perfect. Maybe it's kind of like fall-ish time, it's kind of spooky season, and your book club wants to read something really like emotionally interesting, but isn't too long. And this is Fun Home. The author is the same person who did the Bechdel test. So that's a fun little fact. The Fun Home is a novel about Alison Bechdel herself, her childhood with her father who was closeted and had a lot of mental health issues. It's not really a book, the graphic novel is called Fun Home because their family owned a funeral home, and her and her siblings would call it the Fun Home. So it's not like a fun book to read necessarily, but I do think that it's like a really, really great book for a book club because there's a lot of discussions on the LGBTQ community, of death and dying, of mental illness, that I think is, when you read it, you kind of want to discuss it with another person. So yeah, I thought it was a really great book for our book club. I think it would be a good book for your book club. And lastly, I think a book that would be great if you're kind of looking for maybe like more of a classic book, maybe a feminist book that isn't too long. I don't remember the amount of pages, but I think it's like this thin. And this is Stepford Wives, which I really found really easily accessible for such kind of a classic novel. If you haven't heard about Stepford Wives, it's basically this couple who moves into this nice suburban town, but the woman of the couple finds all the other women kind of strange, a little bit too perfect, has a few friends who seem more normal, but when her friend like switches up, all of a sudden she gets really scared and knows that there's something up with the guys and the husbands of the town. I think most people kind of know the story, but actually reading the book is very interesting. I think a good movie to watch with this book would be Don't Worry, Darling. People have their opinions on that movie, but I do think it would be an interesting discussion of how they were trying to get the themes of Stepford Wives and how they successfully got some of those themes, and or how they weren't as successful in other themes or thoughts that they were having. But yeah, I think this is a great book that is rife for discussion for sure. But those are some of my book club book recommendations. If you think of a book that you think would also be good for a book club, or you've read for book club before, please put in the comments down below so we can kind of just brainstorm some good books that aren't too popular, aren't too long, but create really good discussion. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.